Committee to order, and the first thing on the agenda is we need a motion to approve the last meeting's minutes. Motion by Ms. Wood, seconded by Supervisor Gerard. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. And with that, we'll turn it over to Christy.
Good morning. Okay, I have a few items on my action agenda. The first is resolution request form number 5. It's to apply for MIPA, which is Medicare Improvements for Patients and Providers Act funding. As you can see, the purpose of the funding is to support our efforts to educate and assist eligible Medicare beneficiaries with emphasis on enrollment into the Medicare LIS and MSP programs. It is additional funding for activities basically we're already doing under the HICAP program. It just sets a few more goals for us that we have to reach for the funding. We have to do some reporting on it, but it's stuff we're already doing, and it's 100% funded.
All right, motion is made by Supervisor Sokol, a second by Supervisor Vanslo. Any questions? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next one is also an application for funding. It's for BIP, the Balancing Incentive Program, but it's a new component of BIP. It's called the Caregiver Support Program funding. It's intended to increase offerings and access to caregivers' respite services, but unlike the funding that we currently receive, this is for Medicaid folks. It doesn't require a county match. However, we don't have the completed application out yet. I have an initial application, and then because there were so many questions regarding the first application they sent out, they had to rework some things. I'm concerned about accessing Medicaid clients because it would require me to contract with DSS to get the clients because we don't serve Medicaid clients in the home care setting. Then I would have to, again, contract with a home care agency. I'm a little concerned the amount of funding isn't enough to offset the time and cost. There's only a limited amount that can be used for admin. But they haven't answered the questions yet. So I'm asking to apply. However, I might not apply, pending what I get back from the state.
All right, would someone like to make that motion? Supervisor Gerard, a second. Supervisor Wood. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next one is to amend the county budget to include the funding for BIP, because if we do apply, obviously we'll need to fund it. If I don't apply, then I wouldn't use the funding.
All right, fine.
Basically.
Motion by Supervisor Sokol. I think I saw your hand up first. Supervisor Wood with a second. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next one's also to amend the county budget. This is to fund the contract monies for Hamilton County. I think you guys recall we had a change in provider up in Hamilton County. And we went with one provider initially, and then it was the desire of the Hamilton County Board to have a second option available to serve a bigger portion of the county. So in order to do that, I had to take funding from another budget code. I took money from the BIP code and transferred it by journal entry in order to have enough money to complete the contract. So now I have to replace that money. So the money is going to go into where I took it from BIP, but it's going to, the revenue code that's going to be increased is going to be the Hamilton County share code.
All right, I had a motion by Supervisor Gerard, a second. Supervisor Vanslo. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And the last one is just authorization for me to attend the annual Aging Concerns Unite Us conference. It's held in Albany at the Desmond. We go every year. All of the AAAs go. It's through the Association of Aging in New York. I don't stay overnight. It's a $180 conference fee. It's budgeted.
All right. Supervisor Wood made a motion. A second. Supervisor Sieber. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
All right, that's the end of my action agenda, but I did have one just for your information. I have one item. I'm required every 4 years to submit a 4-year plan to the state, and as part of that plan, I'm required to do a needs assessment survey. So I just wanted to let you guys know that it was out there. I have copies if anyone's interested in seeing it. It's on our website, and there's also a shorter SurveyMonkey version of the needs assessment survey. The survey content itself comes basically from the state. I don't have a lot of say in what goes into it. You might have people complaining to you that the text is too small. The font's too small, but in order to make it not 4 or 5 pages long, we kind of made it little. But I've already gotten a lot of good feedback on it. I already have quite a few of them already returned to my office. But they're out there online if you want to take a look at it or
Okay,
if anyone asking about it.
good, thank you.
And that's it.
Does anyone have anything that they wish to bring up? We're all good? All right, thank you very much.
All right,
Christine.
thank you guys.
Welcome, have a good
Have
weekend.
a good weekend. Thank you. Have a good one.
Got warmed up.
Yeah. The crowd warmed up.
We're getting there.
Okay, it's all yours, Chris.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have several action items as shown on the agenda. There is a typo in the first one that I'll get to in a second, and that's the
No, not accepting mechanics.
the request to amend the county budget to make Trade Act funding. The additional funding is only for 2 students, not for 12 students. That was from a prior request, but the dollar amount on the resolution is correct.
All right, someone like to make that motion? Supervisor Gerard, a second by Supervisor Sokol. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
So the second one may require a little bit of discussion. I haven't been here since January, and it's hard to believe it's been that long. But if you recall, back in January, our part-time youth counselor was retiring, and I got the permission from the committee to replace that person. She has started. She's doing a great job.
Oh,
We're really
good.
thrilled with her performance. When we went back to the original authorizing resolution from 2009, it only authorized up to 30 hours a week. The definition of part-time in the CSEA contract is up to 35 hours per week. The past year, well, I'll just tell you, the position works 3 days a week for the bulk of the year, which is 24 hours.
Right.
And then in the summertime, they work either 4 or 5 days a week to support the youth summer program. Last year, the person who was in that job, there were 36 weeks when she worked 3 days, 6 weeks when she worked 4, and 6 weeks when she worked 5. So there were 12 weeks when she actually worked over 30 hours.
Right.
I wasn't aware of what the authorizing resolution had authorized back in 2009 until really February of this year. So I would like to modify that, at least to be consistent with the CSEA contract, which allows up to 35 hours. But I would like the ability to go beyond that a few weeks during the summer when needed. And I'm not sure what the mechanism is to do that. I also don't want to trigger any Affordable Care Act
Oh, right.
issues, and I'm not fully versed in what would. Last year, with the work schedule that I mentioned, her average was just under 30 hours a week. And I think it's 30 hours a week which triggers Affordable Care Act requirements.
So would someone like to bring a motion to the floor? Supervisor Sokol, a second. Supervisor Gerard, some discussion? Anyone have
Should
a...
we make some contingencies, to, check with Martin and Paul?
Well, I would think,
As far as what, like you're talking about, we wanna be careful on that.
Yeah.
Should it go to personnel first, or?
I don't think it would go to personnel first, do you think? I would think you should probably check
I mean, they would.
with Martin to see.
We'd make it contingent on, maybe Paul and Martin's review, maybe involve human resources in some way.
I-
And then, if that's all right and it needs to go to personnel, then it could go.
I did speak with HR about it, and they
Mhm.
said that, I would need to come back to the committee to increase the hours.
Right.
But in terms of, whether, we have to limit it to 35, or whether it's okay for a few weeks to go 5 days a week, they weren't sure. Sorry.
All right,
I
so,
don't know,
If we can go to 35, right, and then have them check the parameters and operate under the guidelines that they
Okay.
suggest so that we don't set precedent.
Okay.
That'd be acceptable.
that sounds like a good idea. All right? All those in favor of that particular motion then, of doing it that way?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, Chris, next.
The next one is request permission to host a meeting or a conference. The next Workforce Investment Board meeting is scheduled for June 3rd, and the 3 counties alternate who hosts, and this quarter it is our turn to host it. I have spoken with Adirondack Community College to have the meeting in their multi-purpose room of the dorm. We had it there last June as well. So that's the request in front of you. It is likely, I do want to say, it is likely that the date will change, and I'll get into that in a minute.
Okay. Motion made by Supervisor Wood, a second. Second by Supervisor Seaver. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next item is a resolution for a new contract with BOCES for our Operation Food Chain program. This is the summer program that we work with Community Action and BOCES, where we provide lunch to the Glens Falls Summer Recreation Program participants.
All right. Someone like to make the motion? Supervisor Gerard, seconded by Supervisor Wood. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And then the last resolution request is, it's called the Multi-Jurisdictional Elected Officials Agreement. As I had reported back in January, the Workforce Investment Act that we operate under is going away as of June 30, and it's being replaced by the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And regs were supposed to come out in January. In January, a notice came out and said the regulations will come out in the spring. Well, the regulations finally just came out, and the first piece of business that needs to be done is for the county, the chief elected officials of the 3 counties actually get to control how the Workforce Investment Board is made up and how the counties operate together. And that's what this resolution is for. I did include in your package the resolution from, I think it was 1999, that, from 1999, that authorized a similar resolution for the Workforce Investment Act. So this would be a similar resolution as was adopted in 1999.
All right. Someone like to bring that motion? Supervisor Vanslo, seconded by Supervisor Wood. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And that's why we might have to delay the board meeting, because we're trying to schedule 2 meetings of the Workforce Investment Board between now and the end of June. One sort of to be an organizational meeting to get ready for the new regulations, and then the other one to do the official business that we need to conduct. But I will certainly let everyone know when that meeting date is, and as in the past, you're certainly all invited to it.
Great. Thank you.
And under information, I don't have anything to report on our office space update. As you all know, our lease expired at the end of December. The Office of General Service through the state of New York is negotiating a new lease, and we've been told that things are progressing, but
We're not there
we
yet.
don't have anything to report.
Okay.
And then I would turn the floor over to Sharon to talk about the summer youth program.
Well, actually, the whole youth program.
Not summer.
So, yeah, not just summer. We have a year-round youth program, and currently our work crew is working in Warrensburg and helping do some cleanup there. And I just wanted to mention that they're also in Chestertown. They're helping to do some youth trails in Chestertown as well. And passing out the newsletter, which actually was ready early this year, but I came in January, so you can see a lot of information about both programs in there. But the crew has been working with the Glens Falls Housing Authority, and I just want to share with you a note from one of the residents that was received not only by myself, but John Nichu received a note, as did one of the young people with a $5 gift card. And it said, just want you to know that John and his crew are always polite, friendly, and respectful of stuff, in quotes, that has to be worked around. We're happy that they were here and wish them success in the future. So that was wonderful. It came actually from one of the residents, which was fantastic.
That's nice.
And then I do have just one copy of the North Warren Nature Trails, and our crew is working in the red area here. So they're doing the nature trails up there under the supervision of the town treasurer. So, we're very happy with what they've done. We're also extremely pleased with our new, youth counselor. She's, really, jumped right into things, and I'm very happy with the transition. Our summer program is off and running. We've, started going into the schools to interview, and, we'll be doing that through the beginning of May. And then, getting work sites together, so if anyone would like to be a work site and didn't receive a work site agreement, please let me know. I'd be more than glad to help you out with that. And this year, we're going back into the hospital, which we haven't been there for a couple of years, so we're excited about that. We have a young person actually from Hague who's interested in the program, and that's been a while too, so.
Oh, good.
So we're excited to get going once the weather changes, so I have no control over that. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Anyone?
One of the things that we don't often do a very good job about is informing this committee or the board about some of the success that we have.
Right.
And one of the other successful programs that we've had recently is we partnered with the city of Glens Falls in the EDC for the EPA training program. It was a six-week training program where 23 students received a number of different certifications, industry certifications in environmental remediation. And from that class that graduated in December, there were, out of 23, there's, I think, three students that we now have in additional training, but 19 out of the 23 have found employment. And so, you know, we're really thrilled with that number. I know it was reported, I saw a little blurb in the paper about it the other day. But we played a meaningful role in both the recruitment of the students and then also in the placement after the class was over. And it's really kind of an interesting story if you have a minute. One of the students had posted his resume on Monster.com, and a recruiter from a environmental remediation firm saw his resume, and on the resume it said Glens Falls EPA training program. So he Googled that, found a Post-Star article, saw Ed Bartholomew's name in it, contacted Ed, and then from there we were able to place, he has 5 students right now that are employed locally in Hudson Falls and Port Edward doing environmental remediation for General Electric.
Wow.
So it's like,
Good.
you know, it's like you never know, and sometimes, you know, things that you wouldn't really think about end up, you know, working out. I just love that story about how it worked out for
Yeah, that's great. Anything else, Chris?
I don't know, thank you.
Anyone on, Ron?
I haven't bugged you about this since January, since you haven't been here, but, how's the task going?
We actually have a meeting with BOCES. They have a new director of adult education, and we have a meeting set up with her next week. The interesting thing is the statewide numbers really aren't that different from the old GED, but our numbers are down. I don't know if you have any other comments, Sharon.
Well, hopefully it's a new year. Last year was tough because there weren't tests scheduled.
Yeah, that was a big problem.
That was a huge problem. We've had one young person in our program able to test and was successful this year. And then we have 4 or 5 others who are just about ready to test, and there's a May test and a June test, May in Queensbury and June in Fairtown, which did not happen last year. We have a new instructor, and she's doing a great job. So the class is actually going well, the instruction's going well, the outcomes remain to be seen.
One of the more interesting things about that is New York is one of the few states that will allow people to take the test without going through any kind of training. And they always, you know, sort of caution the numbers, and you can't really compare New York to other states because other states, not all of them, but other states do require some sort of formal training before you can sit for the exam, and we don't do that. So, I mean, anybody can sit for the exam at any time.
Well, was that the case with the GED?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, and in fact, the state was very insistent that remain the same, that not change.
For the majority of people, though, they do go through the classes, they need the prep time. And we do not only have the youth program for the TASC high school equivalency diploma, but we also fund job seekers who need their high school equivalency diploma. we fund them also because there is a fee for that. And the reason there is a fee for that is for buy-in. They used to just have people come in and just flood the classes and then not show up. And so we do fund our job seekers to you know, do the prep for the.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, concerns? All right, before I ask for a motion to adjourn, we haven't heard from Office of Veterans Affairs in quite a while, and I didn't know if there was an interest on the part of this committee for me to ask Denise to come to just maybe quick give us an overview of what her department does, because I know there are new members on the committee that haven't had a chance to hear from her, and I just wondered if in the next month or two, if I should just ask her to come to maybe make a 10 or a 15-minute presentation. Does that meet with your approval?
Good idea.
Okay,
I
good.
think in particular, it would be nice to hear about, how she's doing regarding her staffing levels. I know a position was initially approved for
Right.
her, then it was reduced back down, and, you know, I'd like to know what's going on with that.
Well, I think that's why if we ask her to come to meet with us, then she can fill us in on all of those things. So I'll get in touch with her. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Supervisor Sokol, second by Supervisor Wood. All those in favor? Or don't?
That little face on that was to write a note, not for our picture.